Hey everybody, it's Dr. Jason Piken. Welcome to another episode of the Digestion Diaries. Today what we're going to be talking about is Alzheimer's and dementia. Now those are kind of heavy subjects. They're they're cognitive decline, neurodegenerative diseases. I was trying to say before I flubbed it there. But why I wanted to speak about this today is because of my experience on Saturday. So Saturday I picked up my daughter in the city. She was sleeping at a friend's house, and I decided to kidnap her in sort of a way and take her to Brooklyn to see my Nana. Some people will call this a grandma or grandmother. To me, it's a Nana. And Nana's been in a nursing home for the past few years, and she has been suffering with cognitive decline for a long time now. That means her memory's going, and she hasn't been able to care for herself, not because she has a disease that's apparent when you look at her. She doesn't look now she doesn't look well, but when we first put her in, it's just because she needed help, because she couldn't really remember anything about what to do and how to take care of herself, so she needed 24/7 assistance. And the reason why I'm speaking about it today is because in visiting her, this was the first time that she did not recognize me. She didn't recognize me. She was really happy when I walked in. That was great, seeing a big smile on my Nana's face and having my daughter with me to see that and to have her spend some time with her. But I can't say it was quality time, because I believe that on this visit, if anybody would have walked in there, she would have been smiling, because she's just happy in the moment. But she really didn't truly recognize who I was, what my name was. And so it sparked me into thinking about how can I come up with some information to get through to everybody that's going to be watching this, that we can prevent Alzheimer's and dementia. Now, that's a pretty strong statement. No, we can't really 100% prevent it, but I do believe that we can prevent it in some people, and we can delay it in most people. So if you have a predisposition towards memory loss or cognitive decline in general, well, I believe that if we take the right steps, and I'm going to give you these steps right here, if we take the right steps, we can, at the very minimum, delay the onset. And a medium result would be have a very slow progression, and there is a chance that we can prevent it altogether. So to me, even if there's a sliver of a chance that I can prevent me turning into my grandmother or my grandfather on my mother's side, or my grandfather on my father's side, which all suffered from cognitive decline as they got older, I want to do that. Because one, I really want to enjoy my life while I'm on this earth. That's one of my main goals. I not only want to be alive at 93, which she is, and yeah, great, that's an applause, she's alive, but I really want to have quality of life, and not only for my sake, but for the sake of the people that I'm going to leave behind, hopefully. My kids, grandkids, maybe my wife will be still around with me, and I want us all to have quality, not just to be around and survive. We want to thrive. So let me talk to you about the things you can start now. Start thinking about now so you can prevent it. And hopefully you're starting to listen to activities like these in your teens and your 20s, where it really matters. And you're not waiting to your 30s and your 40s, where some of these changes may have already started. And if you're in your late 40s, like I am, 47 right now, well, you really get the ball rolling on starting these techniques, or if you're already doing them, making them even better, getting better at it. So let's talk with the first bit of prevention, and that's paying attention to the gut-brain axis. This is the Digestion Diary, so we're going to be talking about the gut-brain axis. Now, I've mentioned in a lot of other videos that if you're having digestive symptoms, I don't care whether it's burping, belching, acid reflux, constipation, loose stool, a discomfort in your stomach when you eat certain things, what you're doing is, by not addressing these, and hopefully you are addressing them, but not trying to minimize them if you're not trying to find out what's causing these symptoms, you're actually allowing your gut to stay in an irritated state. And there are many connections between the gut and the brain. Now the gut itself has its own nervous system. It's called the enteric nervous system. So you can almost say your gut has its own way of thinking, all on its own, independent of the brain. Yet the gut also has to communicate. It doesn't live by whatever the brain says only, but it has to communicate with the brain what's going on. So if the gut is irritated and it's sending messages up saying, hey, I'm irritated, come help me, and the brain is telling you, hey, we should do something by giving you some symptoms, and you don't listen because you really like your hot and spicy chili, or you really like having that, a burger and fries and shake at McDonald's, and you keep irritating yourself by eating gluten even though every single time you eat it you feel bad, well, what you're doing is you're not listening to this communication pathway that's been going on for, I don't know, weeks, months, decades in some people that I see them. And what I need to let you know is that if you're not addressing these sometimes relatively small digestive issues that people can live with, or take a Tums or a Pepsid, anything like that, pop a probiotic and maybe they feel a little bit better. But if you're not getting to the root of it, the cause of it, it can be leading to severe cognitive decline. That means you don't have your faculties anymore. It's not just you forget a couple words and forget a couple names. It means that eventually you may not be able to care for yourself. And that's what I hope you'll start taking the steps to prevent. So first, you have to take care of your gut, and if you have other gut issues, start watching more videos or just contact me and I'd love to help you figure them out. Next, we're going to talk about microbes, infections. Now, a little harder to take care of this, but there's some research that says the plaquing that goes on in the brain when it comes to Alzheimer's disease, and just in case you didn't know this, one of the leading causes that we believe of Alzheimer's disease, or something that coincides very often with Alzheimer's disease, are these plaques that form in the brain. So this is how we determine whether it's an Alzheimer's patient rather than a dementia. In Alzheimer's, there are these plaques that form in the brain. And think of it this way, if you want to think of what a plaque really is. Think of plaque tartar on your teeth. So what that means is you can go and brush your teeth, but it's still like a hard spot that's like really stuck to the teeth. And what you need is that dental cleaning with these hard tools to scrape it out. Now, what if one of those plaques were to form in your brain? Well, nobody's going in there and scraping them out. So what you really want to do is prevent it. And how do you prevent the plaque from your teeth? Well, you do your best to eat well. How do you prevent the plaque from your brain? We don't really know, but there's a really nice theory out there that makes a lot of sense. You see, one of the theories out there is that there are actually infections, things that infect our body, viruses and bacteria, that have gone through our circulatory system or gone directly through our nose and crossed into the brain, the area of the brain. They've literally crossed the blood-brain barrier some way, shape, or form somehow. And when you get an infection in the brain, the innate intelligence of the body, the intelligence that keeps us alive, that keeps us thriving, that protects us, starts to wall off these infections. Because if they're walled off, if this is an immune system reaction, we're actually being protected from our entire brain being degenerative. Now, you are left with scar tissue or a plaque from that battle, but that's a better option than letting that virus propagate all throughout the brain. So that is right now just theory. We don't have definitive proof on that, but well, what steps can you take to prevent that? Well, 80%, 70 to 80% of our immune system function is our gut. So again, I'm going to ask you to listen to your gut and make sure that if you're having any symptoms, whether burping, belching, acid reflux, constipation, loose stool, diarrhea, leaky gut, whatever you've been told you have, I'd ask you to look for the cause. Not just take a pill or a potion or a lotion to cover up the symptoms and make you feel better, but really try to understand what is causing it. And there are plenty of doctors like me, functional medicine doctors out there, that will help you understand the cause. So let's take a look at a couple other things that we can do to prevent cognitive decline and improve our memory and prevent Alzheimer's and dementia. We have to pay attention to sugar. most people, when they think of sugar problems, they think of diabetes, and hopefully you thought so too. And there are three types, I'll use this hand, of diabetes. There's type 1, which means we're dependent on insulin, and that means the diabetes has progressed really far, or we have a strong genetic or strong autoimmune reaction where we can't produce that insulin anymore, or our cells have become so resistant to insulin that we really just need an outside source, and a drug, to be able to handle sugar better, so we can eat some carbohydrates at least. And that is unfortunately a need for some people, to rely on insulin, but thank goodness it's there. That's type 1 diabetes. There's type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is what used to be known as adult onset, but in recent decades, children are even getting type 2 diabetes. And I believe that's because the food quality in this country sucks. It basically, we're eating way too many carbs and sugars. We're exposed to a lot of chemicals, and basically diseases that used to show up later in life in our 50s and 60s are now starting to show up in our 20s and 30s and 40s. And this is a preventable illness the vast majority of the time. It's an illness that has to do with your lifestyle. It is an autoimmune condition to the most extent. But what it is a preventable condition. So you have to pay attention to your sugar levels. And why did I mention sugar when it comes to the brain anyway? Because there's that third type of diabetes, type 3 diabetes, which basically is a diabetes of the brain. It basically means that you can have a diabetes of the body, and you can have a separate blood sugar handling issue that's solely related to the brain. It tends to be that about 90% of people with Alzheimer's, diagnosed with Alzheimer's, have type 2 diabetes or a severe blood sugar handling problem. And what a type 3 diabetes has been termed is the diabetes where there is a localized blood sugar imbalance in the brain. Now, I'm going to do another video all on blood sugar in the future, but for right now, what you have to realize that if you're not eating in a way that provides you to live a low insulin lifestyle. That means a lifestyle where you're not releasing insulin all the time. Now, insulin is released in response to large meals, a whole lot of protein, a whole lot of carbohydrates. Insulin goes higher when we're stressed. If we're not taking care of the quality of foods, the quantity of foods, and the way we handle stress, if we're not handling these things properly, we can develop blood sugar handling problems. And I am predisposed to that genetically because it's on my father's side of the family. There's a lot of diabetes there. And what I'm doing is taking the steps now, eating right, exercising, and learning how to meditate and relax more so I can prevent any disease process happening. Okay, so hopefully you didn't get too confused with that because that was a little long-winded. So let's go into the next thing. Two things that you can also start right now that will actually have a major impact on the prevention of Alzheimer's and dementia. So one is exercise. Now, exercise is really the thing that fixes everything. I just can't tell you enough about how important exercise is for your brain. During a recent seminar I was at, an Apex seminar that was called Mastering Brain Chemistry, and it was really about mastering everything that has to do with prevention and treatment for early onset brain disorders. And there was a statement said by the practitioner that was teaching it, Dr. Noseworthy, that exercise is nutrition for your brain. And I love that line. I don't know who came up with it first. It might have been Dr. Karazian who originally came up with the course, but Dr. Noseworthy, I'm giving you credit because I heard you say it. But exercise is nutrition for your brain. And I'm going to go back to my Nana for a second, because a lot of people would say, well, she exercised because she walked every single day that she could until her feet and legs started bothering her so much that she couldn't anymore. She exercised by walking, and she walked miles a day. And what I'm here to tell you is walking is fantastic. I'm not here to put down walking. Walking is great for your mind. It's great for stress relief. Walking is okay for your heart. Walking burns a few calories. But I do not personally consider walking exercise, because walking is really easy. Walking is so simple. It takes you no brain power to walk compared to a boot camp class, compared to a spin class where you have to push yourself, compared to hiking, which is like an extreme version of walking, where you have to pay attention to your surroundings and you have to go up and down and maneuver all over the place. So if you're not looking to strengthen your body and build muscle, if you're not doing complicated exercises, if you're not playing soccer, which is, you consider it running all over the place while trying to kick a ball and thinking all over the place, you'd notice how fast I speak when I talk about these high impact activities compared to when I'm conscious and try to de-stress myself. I'm working on it. What you have to do is you have to exercise, which means you have to push yourself in some way, shape, or form. And the more complicated the exercise, the better. And you don't need fancy weights, you don't need a gym. You just need to Google, how do I exercise without any weights on YouTube? You're going to get body weight exercises and just start learning how to move. And yes, personal trainers are great, classes at the gym are great, but you can also use YouTube to teach you a lot. All right, so there's exercise. If you're not exercising right now, or if you're only walking, I implore you to exercise more. All right, so the next thing is learning. So there's a lot of good research that says if we use all of the aspects of our brain, that will prevent cognitive decline. So what do we tend to do, especially in modern life, is we tend to be attracted to the things that we're good at, and we keep doing the things that we're good at. So I'm a chiropractor, I'm attracted to learning all about health, and I keep learning about health, and learning more and more about health may help me because I'm passionate about it, and it gives me energy, and that actually is good for my brain. And if I also do things that I don't like to do, it will help my brain even more. So what don't I like to do? Math. I hate numbers. My dad and my brother were blessed with the gift of numbers and being able to compute numbers in their head and deal with that really well. So what they should be doing is more art. But basically what we want to do is find mental activities that you're not necessarily great at and do them. So you love Sudoku, one of those things, and you love crossword puzzles and you love playing Scrabble, well, take an art class. Take a photography class because that's left brain and right brain. You have to be creative and you have to get technical, and so maybe you like that better. You're very right brained and you're artistic and you sing and you have lots of fun, but you hate those other two things I mentioned. Well, maybe you do that. Maybe you join a site like Lumosity. Lumosity is a website that people may have seen commercials for either on the internet or TV that gives you brain exercises and things that you can just sit in front of the computer and games that you can play that get you to use your left brain and right brain, and you can score and compete against other people out in the internet world. And anything that you do to learn more is great. The two favorites I have suggestions are for people is learning another language or more if you don't know one already, because learning a language is one, left brain and right brain both together. And when you use all the parts of your brain in a brand new way that you've never done before, you're going to create new neural connections and you're going to keep your brain healthy. Another thing is learning to play an instrument, especially again if you've done it in the past when you were younger and lost it for years, or you've never picked up an instrument in your life. Learning to play an instrument is again both left brain, right brain, very complex, and it's like learning a new language. And even if you spend 20-30 minutes a day, 20-30 minutes 2-3 times a week doing any of these activities, you're still stimulating your brain, because most of the cognitive decline comes from doing the same thing over and over again. Because when your brain isn't challenged, the use it or lose it principle, well, then it goes away. If you're not challenging your memory and trying to remember things, well, then you lose the ability to remember things. So just play with your brain exercises, make your body move and exercise, take care of your blood sugar, and learn to eat the right things. Make sure your immune system is healthy by having a healthy gut. Make sure your gut-brain axis is healthy by having a healthy gut. And visit your grandparents if they're still around and learn about your history and learn about your genetics. And if you see traits in your family, why don't you spend some time now learning on how to prevent those? So I hope all this helped. I hope you got a lot out of this. I know this was a long one, but it's an important subject. Have a great day. Hope that helps.